Well, good morning. You're watching Morning at NTV. Use our hashtag Morning at NTV. This is a hashtag I have seen before, and I'm actually glad they're here so that I get to hear what Writivism is all about. Please welcome Roland Viagaba, who's actually director, Writivism.
Director.
So, I mean, if anyone is on Twitter, they have seen this somewhere.
I hope so.
Well, don't hope so. They have. This
so.
is where you just say, yes, they have.
Yes, if you haven't, what are you doing with your life?
Yes.
Yeah.
So just before we get into it, because I think I know what it is, but what is Writivism?
So Writivism is an initiative that's under the Center for African Cultural Excellence.
Yeah.
And basically what we do at Writivism is we try to help upcoming African writers just know the different ways they can make it in the industry. In brief.
You said African, not Ugandan. So Writivism, not Ugandan.
We are continental.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So ideally, so I thought it was something Ugandans came up with and...
Yeah, but if you think of it like that, then yes, Ugandans did come up with it. But we can't claim to have invented the entire thing because two of our co-founders are Ugandan and then one is from Zimbabwe. So we're African like that.
You're African like that.
Yeah.
So there's you, and as you said, that's what, like 3, 4 others?
I'm the director, which means I'm an employee, but then they're the founders, and that's WCJ, Ateni, and go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Salary increment.
The name will come back to me, but yeah.
But so what was the idea behind starting into? They wanted to help writers, but I'm wondering their background. Are these writers? Are these in any way in the writing process?
No, weirdly enough, 2 of them are lawyers, and one is I think he's studying African studies. Okay. Yeah, but the love for literature was there, so they figured we need to tell our stories because if you think about our syllabuses and how they focus on all the things that are pretty much useless to us, we need relatable stories.
Chinua Achebe.
Yeah, Chinua Achebe is great, but you see, that's like the other generation. Now our generation, they have stories they can relate to. So Chinua Achebe was talking about people carrying spears and in African traditional society, which when I read now, I may not be able to relate to. Yeah. It's good just to have a perspective of where we came from, but in terms of relatability, it may not be that relevant right now. So it was a case of let's tell more stories about the now and see how we can create more content about Africa that people can relate to. Yeah.
So what was more important when Writivism was starting? Was it to tell the African stories or to help African writers generally, regardless of the stories they were telling, to just be published?
Yes, it's a bit of both.
Okay.
So on one hand, we have a lot of novels, and most of the novels, all the bestsellers that we have out there are not from Africa. Okay. Until now, Chimamanda is, doing epic things.
Yeah, and she's a whole different league.
So it was a case of let's get more African writers there in the limelight, and then also African writers have to come from somewhere. Yes. So most people, if you have people like President Museveni saying, arts are crap, please do more sciences, how do we kind of create that balance of showing that arts are relevant? So let's get more African writers writing. Let's show them that you can make a career out of writing. And that way we'll feed into, this other agenda of having more African stories out there. Okay, so they feed into each other.
Okay, so this started when?
So this is going to be our 6th festival. So I may need to break down our structure.
Okay, please. Before I ask my question, go on.
So this started in 2013. This is our 6th year. Okay. And last year we celebrated 5 years. It was kind of a big deal because they say what they say about startups and reaching the 5-year mark. So we celebrated.
In Uganda we say the 1 year.
There is that as well.
By 3 you were good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So right now the focus is the festival because that's happening this weekend. But before the festival we have different things we do throughout the year. So we have workshops that we hold. So now workshops is where you come with your raw talent. And then you have someone who is more established, kind of just help you polish it and make you into someone that's better. But workshops are very short, so that's like 2 days, 3 days at most. And there's only so much you can do in that period. Yeah. So after the workshops, we do online mentoring. So we pair the emerging writers with established writers. And then over a 3-month period, they're kind of just going back and forth, working on a script, on a manuscript. Then after the mentoring, we have the prize. So the prize is
The prize is
two
not
prizes.
It's from the festival or it's from the workshops and
from the workshops, and also just it's an open call. Anyone
Right.
can submit their story
Oh,
to the
okay.
prize. So the two prizes, we have a non-fiction prize and we have a fiction prize. So you submit to either or both if you feel you have enough content.
Okay.
So the prize, then we have judges who go through all the submissions, and then we release a long list, and then from the long list we get a short list. And now the shortlisted writers, that's 6 of them, 3 for fiction and 3
then
for non-fiction.
Okay.
Those are the ones we choose 1 from each to award. So the 6 shortlisted writers this year are going to fly into the country for the festival, and then at the end of the festival on Sunday we shall have the big announcement. Ta-da!
Okay, so you're saying flying, which means that when you do this open call, it's not just for Ugandan writers.
Africa.
It's African
Yeah.
writers.
Even Africans in the diaspora, they count as well. Yeah.
Good stuff. So the reason I was asking when you started is because I'm trying to see if you've done 6 years, or this is going to be the 6th. I'm trying to imagine you had there's probably an ambition to make sure that African writers were put there, especially Ugandan writers. I'm being selfish here.
It's
But there must have been, when you go through the writing and you're like, a couple of things need to be done, versus where we are today, where probably they're more polished now. They
Yeah.
probably understand styles of writing. And was that there? Was that the whole thing of going through, this is bad material?
even now it's there.
Really?
Maybe at the point when we were starting, there were some initiatives. There was Femrite, which was doing, but it was very specific to women.
Okay.
There were a couple of them. African Writers Trust, I think, was there before us. But then, and they were also doing the same thing. We do workshops and the mentoring and all that. So it's a case of there will never be a shortage of people to uplift.
Yeah.
Yeah, constantly there's a new breed of people coming in just to try and write something. So
Yeah.
that year when we started, yes, there were people who were doing very unpolished stuff. Even right now,
Yeah.
we still get very many unpolished submissions because most people are submitting for the first time ever. Yeah,
So what do I've heard of workshops which you're helping me if I'm unpolished. You're helping me understand that this is how to go about it.
yeah.
But then getting published.
So yes,
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked. I hadn't finished our
Go
our
on,
year.
yes.
So after the prize, where we announced the winner at the festival,
Out of the 6.
out of the 6, all the people who were longlisted. So from that stage, if you manage to get the longlisted stage, and also the people who just went through the mentoring, because some people just go through the mentoring and they're not interested in submitting for the prize. We get all those stories, and then we work with an editor. So the editor, that's another part of the process, because mentoring is just feedback, and this is your writing style. Maybe you should read this book because it's a bit like the way you write.
Yes.
But now the editing process is a different ball game altogether, and editing is very brutal. So you go there and the editor says, this just won't fly.
Are you saying I can start with 300 pages and
Yeah,
end
yeah.
up with like...
The editor will tell you all of this section is useless. It does not build to the flow of the story.
Okay.
And you just remove it or just find a way of rewording it. So it's a very brutal, and a lot of people fall out around there because they cannot do the work necessary to get past the editing phase. But the editing phase is really critical because at the end of the day, it's what gives you a polished, like a really good book at the end of the day that flows, the story flows. So they work with an editor to, develop their stories. That's like the final stage.
Okay.
So then after editing, we publish an anthology every year. Yeah, it's a collection of different writers from all over the continent who have contributed to the prize and to the mentoring, and we put it out there. So now what that does for you as an emerging writer is it gets your name in ink.
Yes.
It's not your book because you're with very many people.
I was about to say,
you are in
where's
ink.
the credit? Okay. It says written by you, I'm
Exactly,
guessing.
yeah. Your name is there in ink. You can. That's people put that on the bios and whatnot. So it's a big deal, and it kind of shows that you can make it. If you can get in an anthology, then what's to stop you from having your own book?
Yeah.
You get it.
That's true.
So that's the anthology, the printing.
Yeah.
And then finally, the winners, we have a residency. A residency is where, because the daily hustle can be, you have your job, you're trying to find rent, your girlfriend or whatever, your boyfriend.
And you're a writer.
And you're trying to write a full book of
Yes.
120,000 words.
Yeah.
So the residency, what it does is just to take you away from all that, all those, and
Okay.
just put you in a space for a month where you can concentrate on writing your
Whoa.
book. So that's normally done in collaboration with, I've had time pronouncing the name, but University
Yeah.
in South Africa. So we take you there for a month and
Yeah.
you sit and you write a book.
Does that work?
It does, yes, it really does. Residencies are very popular because you really need to focus.
Because writers are creatives, and the thing I know about creatives is like concentration and focus are our power, but they also our enemy. Because sometimes when it's too silent, you're rattling.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that even works.
No, but I guess we're also very easily distracted because we'll see a thing and then we'll just focus on it and we'll just build it up in our heads. So it helps. If you ask most of the people who have finished books, they will tell you, I left the city, I went to some village somewhere where there was peace and quiet and there was no internet, and I sat there and I wrote my book.
Wow.
Because it's hard. Speaking as someone who's trying to write a book right now.
How long has it taken you?
Right now, let's say...
You're still writing?
Yeah, I'm still writing.
Okay.
Yeah. By end of this year, for sure.
Aye!
For
and
sure.
the residence is 1 month, and this is saying end of this year.
Yeah, because me, I'm working. I don't have that luxury of doing the residency.
You're juggling a couple of things.
Yeah.
So tell me, what kind of writers are we as Ugandans? Because I've seen a lot of bloggers. I've seen a lot of people try their hand at writing. I studied literature and it's an interest.
Were you good?
The writing part, not so much. As in, I can write, I can read a book and I can explain it. I'm very good at that. I can try stage plays, you know, but at your book, you have lost me there. Either I haven't tried, obviously, but I just feel like I would not be able to sustain my concentration past 6 pages of writing.
That's why you need a residency.
I guess. But I'm wondering, what kind of writers are we? Are we the writers who can actually tell authentic stories and powerful stories? Is our work sustainable, you know? I think what I'm asking really, is there a future for Ugandan writers? And telling Ugandan stories, Roland?
That's a very big yes from my side, because as of right now, I think the book that's making waves in the world scene, is from Uganda. So that's our own Chintu by Jennifer Makumbi. She recently won another of those prizes I can't pronounce. But yeah, and Chintu,
great strides.
He is the beauty of it. Chintu is just, it's really set in, it comes from African traditional side, so like our forefathers and all that, and then it follows the generations of this one family. And the first time I read it, I was like, wow, this book is very specific to Uganda.
I was about to say that sometimes don't you lose the rest of the world? No,
but that's a surprising thing. You read reviews from elsewhere, and then maybe they don't get, they don't
get it the same way, probably.
But that's the thing about art. Everyone has their own interpretation of it.
That's true.
But the thing is, as long as it's a really good story, people will find that context, or they'll just fill in the gaps for themselves and relate them to their own context. So they may not understand what happens in Uganda or some of the Ugandan words, but as long as the story flows, the mind will fill in those gaps. So to answer your question, yes, we are telling these stories, and they're great stories. Achan, who was the winner of our 2015 prize, was supposed to be with me here, but you know, life happened. But Achan's story that won the prize is set in the future, in an African, future where the world is ending, and there's this.
Vibranium saves us?
No, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to give spoilers.
Okay.
But is it?
What's the book called? We can look for it. Or
the anthology is called Sundown and Other Stories. So look out for it. Yeah. So that's her story, and it's a completely different setting, but people related to it. Oh, nice. You get it. And then there's like the recent anthology we did, which is just specific to Ugandan writers, which has completely sold out, and people are asking for it in other countries. Yeah. And those stories about Ugandan experiences, but people are able to relate to that. So at the end of the day, I think it is. If you're a good storyteller, your story will go wherever it wants to go.
Yeah, that's good.
It doesn't matter.
So Writivism 2018, it's a good space if you are a writer, an emerging writer, or you have been writing your own stories quietly for a long time, and you've been wondering, is there a space for us Ugandans to actually compete on a global scale, or just for someone to see what I'm writing? I guess that's what Writivism is all about. Yeah. I asked you about writers, whether they have a future. But we're also not very known for reading. We don't necessarily like to read beyond certain pages. Not all of us. But the percentage that likes to read is still low. So how are you getting Ugandans to even appreciate that? So we stop the Jane and Jim and like the Chintu and Achan.
I mean, that's the whole point of doing this festival. So the festival is where we just try to get as many writers and as many readers to come and congregate and talk about things like this, this so-called reading culture problem. Okay, yes, on one hand, I would like to admit that it's there. Okay. But then there are reasons why, that people have forwarded reasons why this is the case.
Okay.
Which is, again, one of the things about relatability. If you look at our syllabus, so literature, the way it's taught is maybe not the most encouraging way to build a reading culture.
Okay.
So if you're being taught literature as an examinable subject, you get this certain bias towards it. And once you're done with it, you're like, oh, thank God. So there are very many people who are trying to change that. I know 4040 is trying to, they have the Angaza program where they go out to, so they're trying to get those kids when they're still young and build this culture of reading when they're really still young. Because getting that culture when you're old is a bit tricky. Especially when you have series and all that.
Roland is being honest.
And the bar and, things like that.
He's being honest, guys. He's saying that you would rather not stack your bookshelf with Ugandan books. You'd rather have a bar.
No. Please let me not be spotted, guys.
Okay, then
you can go to your bar, but also stock your bookshelf, and you can do both. I mean, I think I do both.
You do?
Yeah.
There you go.
I will lose myself in books one weekend, and then the other weekend I'll just be like, well. So that's and again that's part of, with the festival, that's what we're trying to do. So we realize that if we just make it about books, people will just zone out because there's only so much talking about books that you can do. So that's why we have like a Kado band, which will be performing on Saturday night. It may not seem like something very literature related, but it's arts and they kind of fit into each other. And we'll have poets and then we'll have all these different things. So it's a festival of we just want to celebrate books and have fun while we're at it.
Okay.
So in that way, we hope we'll slowly change this culture.
The mindset.
Yeah.
So just for people, I mean, does Writivism also, if I went, for example, on Twitter and reached out and said, I want to start reading African books, I just don't know where to get them, or suggestions, where do I start? This is what I like. Are you the kind of space also that can give that sort of information?
Yeah. So now that we do, because you see, like the other parts of our program that I've described are very, specific to writers.
Yeah.
So if you're a reader and you want to find out all these books, the recommendations of African titles you can check out, we're on Twitter every other day because we're tapped into all these different networks of African writers.
Okay.
So when a new book comes out, we know about it and we'll yap about it like it's the end of the world. And on our blog, we'll do reviews. So like every month, we'll have like books you should be looking out for, African titles. So yeah. We're doing quite a bit of that. Yeah.
Okay, so what has been the biggest milestone since you're going? This is year 6. What can you point at and say this is probably the biggest highlight in the years that have passed?
The biggest highlight, making 5 years was a big one.
Was it that you jumped so many hurdles that 5 years really felt like a win?
Because I mean,
what was so hard?
When you think about how our industry runs,
well,
it's not sustainable. Yes, we sell books and all that, but these books cannot run all the different programs we run. So we're constantly looking for people to fund us and all that. And this festival that we do is not cheap. So
just putting it together.
And because we want people to come and attend and interact with the books. At a certain point, we used to charge an entrance fee.
For the festival?
For the festival. But then the turn-up was really low. Already, the interest in books is not all that.
So now you charge
you're adding
entrance.
You're really killing it.
Okay.
So we made it free. Like, the entire festival is free.
So you're trying to tell me you were charging Ugandans to come read books and they were not interested? Wow. Well, who hurt us? Why are we like this? We don't want to read to this point. So
it's not a cheap festival to run, and making 5 years of just somehow doing this every year, it's quite an achievement in itself. But I think the focus is just how many people we have across the continent. The statistics are somewhere on our blog. I think. But the number of workers, the number of writers we have engaged in the workshops that we have mentored, they are not small numbers, and we are like, that was us. Yeah. We did that, despite all these several challenges, and there's a lot of free labor involved here. So many volunteers who just give their time, and they're like, we believe in your vision, so here, have my time. I know I'm busy trying to write another book, but you want me to mentor someone? Please, I'll do that. So they do that. And just getting this whole family of people to come behind the goal, I think for me that would count as the biggest achievement of ours over the years. Okay,
so I want to talk about the funding, but before I get there, there's readers and then, there's writers and readers. Yeah. In an ideal world over the next few years, would you want that scale to be more readers and less writers, an equal number? What's the ideal that would make sense?
So, writers generally tend to read a lot. So the more writers we have, the more readers we have. That's a given.
So the writers become the readers.
Inevitably,
No,
because
Roland, you
no,
want-
yeah, I'm letting, I'm letting
You want the Mutwa ones to start reading
let
these
me
books.
get there.
Yes.
So if we have more writers, that means we also have more readers. There's that correlation, because you have to read a lot to be a good writer.
Yes.
But also, the scale has to be, you know, kind of weighing towards the reader side, because the readers buy the books, and for the writers to keep on writing, we need to buy their books. So more readers, for sure. Yeah.
And don't buy the book and keep the book. Actually, I'm supporting a Ugandan. Here's my money, and then put
No,
the
it's
book
okay.
there.
Buy the book.
Listen to Roland. He's just trying to be
And
a
then find
businessman
time.
here. He's just trying to be a... I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Like, give us the money first.
Give us
First
the
buy
money.
it.
Yeah.
You'll find someday to read the book.
Or someone will come to your house, I know,
And read the
I
book.
read the book. I have done this. I enter people's house and I straight away go to their bookshelf and I'm like,
Since you guys
What-
won't read the books, let me help you.
oh, you've read this book already. Let me do this. Let me
Okay, I've
do
done
some-
that
yeah.
too. I've raided people's bookshelves
there you
before,
go.
but don't do that, guys. But
Yeah.
do you see this bookshelf over here?
It
I
has a
know
verse.
the viewers have seen it before. Do you see how empty it is?
Yeah.
When we started this show, maybe 2-3 months ago, we actually put out and asked. I specifically asked anyway, and I said, Ugandan writers, if you are a Ugandan writer, still stands. There's a bookshelf here just for that. Please bring your book. If we need to review it, we will do it in this segment on Take Note.
Oh, really?
And put it there. Signed.
I wish I'd
Copy
known.
signed. So it still stands, and as you can see,
It is empty. I will be back. And
You-
our
please,
titles will be the first to go.
Please come back and fill that. But
Tomorrow even. Mark my word. I'll be back,
Exactly.
yeah.
So let's talk about funding. You've talked about funding, and writers and a lot of creative jobs or spaces, people are always like, "Ooh, this one is just for the passion. It's not for the money. You can't commercialize that."
Yeah.
But we're not going to discuss maybe the writers individually. Let's discuss writivism. How you are able to run the space. It's obviously from me buying a book or somebody else buying a book, which, as you said, is not sustainable necessarily.
Yeah.
So what kind of funding have you gotten, or are you looking at? What sort of funding?
So right now, most of our funding is from outside the country and outside the continent.
Oh, okay.
So
They understand reading better than us.
yes.
Okay.
I won't speak to their motives, but I thank them.
Yes.
So they give us money and we do the things that we do. So really, who am I to judge the motives?
Yeah.
But we have universities in the UK. We have people like the Myers Moreland Foundation, but also we have organizations like OSEA. So that's the money part of it. But I don't think it's always about the money, because when you look at spaces like the Square or the National Theatre where we're going to hold the festival,
Yeah.
they're also very understanding of what we're trying to do,
Okay.
and they're understanding of some of our budgetary constraints, and then they give us really good deals in terms of just
Nice.
so you just do what you're trying to do. We understand, we buy into the vision, so have our space for a very discounted rate, and then we have all these different partners. So we have people giving us sound, we have people, so all these people come on board, and it's easy to say that there's no local support for the kind of work that we do,
Yeah.
but it may not be monetary, but it's there. Yeah.
Okay, but why don't you, like, I'm just thinking out loud, why doesn't Writivism start supplying all our schools with books for literature classes? Why don't we just shift our syllabus and just, ideally, just put Ugandan books in all the
See,
literature classes?
that's a key word there. Ideally. You try to go through the bureaucracy of the Curriculum Development Center. I mean, we are trying to have engagements with them.
Yeah, you should.
Our last anthology is some people are now teaching it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I know people like Fountain Publishers have made that their specialty.
Good.
So they do books that will be bought by schools.
Yeah.
Because now that's where the money is. But then the kind of writing we're trying to do is creative, and it's not necessarily targeted towards schools. Sometimes the content is a bit
Yeah, but
PG.
a university student can still get the book.
But I don't know about the university syllabus.
That's worse.
Yeah. So
But just put it in the libraries and let them just read in their free time. Okay, that's also a bit difficult.
I mean, yeah.
University
I know people
students
who
are not running to the library to read a book in
Some
their
are.
free time.
Some
Are they?
But I think most of the times, most of the times they go to the library. It's just for academic purposes. I have a test coming up.
So what about book clubs?
Now those are kind of popping up,
Yeah.
and they're becoming more frequent.
Okay.
And I'm glad for that, because the book clubs, that's now where those are the channels, and would like to see more of those coming up. So, and also the thing is, a lot of the time we don't know about them.
I don't know about a book club, but I'd like to join one, for example.
I'm in two, one which is really dormant.
I don't want a dormant book
Yeah.
club.
But I know certain book clubs that are serious.
I don't want the ones who go like, why are you sitting that way? You are not, I don't want the know-it-all.
I know we don't have those ones.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I know
Yeah.
some which are actually now releasing their own books and
Good.
things like that. So it's impressive, and I would like to see more of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, we're just one of the many people and
Yeah.
initiatives trying to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So where we fail or where we have shortcomings now, like the universities and the
Yeah.
students, other people are going into
Going in
those
that
and
space.
they're not playing games. So
Okay.
we shall get to them.
So
We shall get to
Roland,
everyone.
before I let you go, just tell people where the festival is happening, how they can be part of it, and more.
So
So I'm going to let you
I'm-
plug, so you're right
which one?
there.
That one. All right. So Writivism 2018, which is our sixth festival, is starting on Friday. On Friday, we shall be at the National Theatre. We'll have a keynote address from Professor Tabano Leong, who is one of the historicals, if that's the word to use. So he was there he started with Chinua Achebe and all that,
Oh.
and he has been observing. So our theme for this year is legacy, and there's no better person we could have found to speak on that because he has seen it all. And then from Saturday and Sunday, that's 18th and 19th, we'll be at the square, and yeah, we have a lot of discussions. We have a Kadok band which is going to be there doing the music. We have Chenvu, the movie from Kemi Yondo, which will be also showing.
Oh, nice. Is
Yeah.
that Friday?
That's Saturday now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So Friday is National Theatre.
National Theatre.
Okay,
yeah,
and then
for the keynote.
Saturday?
Saturday and Sunday at the square. We have some programs for kids by 4040. So we have all these different partnerships with people who are doing the same thing as us. And then finally on Sunday, we shall have the awards night where we shall unveil our winners and then close the day. And there'll be plenty of books for sale. I want to emphasize
He's
that.
being very coy, so let
Yeah.
me help him plug. These people don't have to sell themselves.
I am not on TV every day like you,
Roland
like.
Biagawa from Writivism 2018. Say it's a family, mother, father, 2 children, plus the children's partners. All of you come. See, the
The
parents
side dishes.
can go to one section, buy some books, read some books, talk to some writers.
Talk to
Talk
plenty
to
of
some
writers.
plenty of writers.
Yeah.
The young ones have a section, as you said, 40/40 will be there.
Yeah.
They're trying to teach the younger generation how to read, so you can leave the children in that space. You're saying?
We have outreaches if you're
Oh,
interested.
see, you had even forgotten.
We
They
go
have
to Mtamika Hospital, we go
outreaches.
to Nakawa Market, we read with the people there. So we're not leaving any stone unturned. Yeah, so
But let's make it simpler. Go online and go to this hashtag.
hashtag is Writivism28. It's there on the screen below, but
Aki,
add the
no,
hashtag before.
He's terrible at this. These young people, you need to push. Hashtag Writivism 2018 online. That's it for Morning at NTV's Take Note. Have a good morning.